request that you accept me the next time?
Yeah, I'll let you back in.
Yeah, okay, because this is too small. I'm okay. Thank you.
Hey, Elise, I didn't realize this was a Docusign class. I thought this was the one with Nick Baldwin. So I'm going to get out and you don't need to record it for me.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
All right, bye.
Okay, guys, we're going to get started. We are walking through opportunities today within Command and going to talk a little bit about how opportunities lead into DocuSign and yeah, start making that switch over. So if you have any questions, you can type in chat or you can just raise your hand and Reese or I will get to you. Anybody in Facebook who is watching, if you have a question, you can put that in the chat as well. Okay, so to get started, basically in Command, the DocuSign and opportunities are not going to work the same exactly as what we're used to with dot loop. So with dot loop, you don't really start the loop or start preparing forms or creating a loop until you actually have that person, like you're ready to go with the transaction. You're ready to prepare paperwork. You have things that you're ready for signatures. An opportunity actually is going to start well before you would normally start a loop. And it's really much more than just a loop. Your opportunity is like your whole transaction folder. Opportunities are always going to start from someone in your database. The person has to be in your database in order to plug them in as an opportunity. So ideally, you want to have all of your database in here tagged and organized. That's going to make your life a lot easier going forward. And if you guys have not already finished tagging and organizing your database, adding neighborhoods, all of that stuff, that should be your number one focus. That stuff is absolutely essential in order for everything else in Command to work best for you in the future. Once you have these people in your database, and let's say that you can see them here. Let's say that this person came to one of my open houses. If this person came to an open house and I added them to my database, my first step would be, okay, type in their name, type in their email, their phone number. After that, I would go and add them on neighborhoods. When you add them on a neighborhood, you can zoom in on the map. I'm going to choose a couple areas that I think that they would be interested in. Again, these neighborhoods don't have to be perfect. You know, I don't need to know exactly where you live, or if you came to my open house, I'm going to choose the neighborhoods around the open house that I hosted or around my listing. If that's not the case and I'm not sure where you live or where you came from, then I'm just going to choose some like key points, like main areas, biggest neighborhoods, popular places, or if you have a service area, like let's say you're focusing heavily on Wyckoff, I'll just choose all of Wyckoff. The idea with this is that we have something to kind of send to them to engage with them on a smart plan. So I would put them on some neighborhoods and then I'm going to send them the smart plan, which you could either do bi-weekly or monthly. And from there, they're going to get a little bit of a market snapshot for each of these neighborhoods. And if my mouse would work. Come on. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to redirect them to this website. This website's going to show them all the neighborhoods that we chose, and it's going to show them the listings that are available in those areas. All I want them to do is engage. I just want to send them something that's like, hey, have you ever seen your town broken apart this way? Or, hey, are you interested in looking at, you know, hyper-focused, hyper-local, super specific market stats? People who are interested in real estate or they're interested in buying and selling in the near future, when they see these emails, they're going to be intrigued to click on them. And that's all we want. Then we can track their activity. Once you establish that someone is actually a connected lead, so let's say that I add all the people, like 10 people who came to my open house, I put them all in my database, I put them all on neighborhoods, and then I put them on the smart plan. Say that 8 of them or 9 of them, they just ghost me, they don't respond, or I don't really see them engaging. I can sort my database by last visited. If the buyer changes the neighborhood, will the smart, yes. If the buyer changes and they subscribe to their own neighborhoods, the smart plan will update. Yep. So if I sort this by last visited, it's pretty cool because here it's going to show me the last people who visited my app, the last people who visited my website, or the last people who visited one of my neighborhood updates. Now, when I come into my database every day, it's not this mass of people who I'm not sure where I'm focusing or who I should be touching. Right at the top, I know this person was on my website. It would even say a few seconds ago. You could see that they were on your website and you haven't contacted them a month ago. So that would be a person that I'm going to call today. The system is basically helping you use your time wisely so you're touching the right people at the right times. Once you connect with those people, that's when the opportunity starts. So now let's say that I've connected with this person and I've identified that they are a connected lead. That's it. Your potential to do business within the next 12 months. I feel like you are interested in buying or selling a house. This does not mean that you called me and said, yes, let's definitely work together, which that would be awesome. And if that does happen, that's definitely an opportunity. But even if you just connect with them and are able to identify that there is some interest, even if it's further out, that's fine. That's still an opportunity. How you create the opportunity, again, I'm still in that contact. So I'm actually going to go and we'll do this in Claire because I have like 5,000 under me. So I'm going to go into Claire's opportunity tab. And from there, I'm going to click create an opportunity. When I click create an opportunity, it's going to say type. So all you need to say is whether this is a listing, a buyer, landlord, tenant. We'll say that this is a listing. From there, you don't need to worry about this stuff at this point. Don't worry about the tags. It is going to ask you for a commission rate. And for estimated list price or estimated budget, I would put a ballpark there. And you'll see why in a minute. But I would say that having a ballpark range of, if you don't know their price range, maybe the area that they're looking in, the average home price in that area. So I would just go and say average price, not 4 million. Create opportunity. And now I have an opportunity in my little opportunity tab. If this person is looking to buy and sell, that's actually 2 separate opportunities. If this person is, again, looking to rent and maybe eventually buy, that is 2 separate opportunities. Once you have that opportunity created, you can see that over on the side menu on this little handshake, your opportunity pipeline is going to start to fill out. This is one of my favorite features of Command and really just kind of emphasizes the fact that Command was built by real estate agents. A lot of these CRMs that are on the market, the technology might be a little bit more polished because they were built by technology companies and they were just sold to real estate agents. Command was built by real estate agents and isn't going to be sold to anyone. We're keeping all of the information for ourselves. So it's kind of interesting. And I love the fact that they were able to actually put like the GCI tools into Command. This is a system that KW has always promoted. And the fact that it now is working as part of your transaction timeline, I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. So on this transaction pipeline, you can see that I have 3 pipelines: listings, buyers, and leases. I have listings, 14 in cultivate, 8 appointments, 1 active. Based on my listing pipeline, my probable income is 39,000. But my potential income is like 238. That's $200,000 difference if I'm able to actually convert and close on all of these opportunities. And that's why you want to make sure you have an average price so you can really start seeing the value and the actual potential that is in your pipeline. I don't know about you guys, but that would give me a lot more incentive to make sure that I'm really nurturing and cultivating my connected leads. So an opportunity begins as soon as it is a connected lead. Okay, Luann, I'm sorry. I heard that some people weren't able. It's the main link. Hold on. I'll send it to you guys on Facebook. You can, if you guys want to join Zoom, you can join there, or you can watch on Facebook, whichever you prefer. Okay, so opportunity again is a connected lead. So in my cultivate section, these are all my connected leads. I have broken this apart and you can customize these. So these stages in here within cultivate, you can create more, you can edit them, you can remove them, whatever you want to do. Make them make sense to you. So what made sense to me was to say that, okay, 6 to 12 months, 3 to 6 months, and 0 to 3. At that point, I kind of have a better idea. I think for me, it would just make more sense to be looking at it for a time frame. I think the defaults that are in here are called watch, nurture, and hot. If that works for you, that's fine too. Or you could use whatever, again, you want to look at this and know that's what that means. So it doesn't have to be what I'm using. It doesn't have to be what Command's using. I personally recommend that using the time period seems to be a little bit better. Then I really know how I should be following up. So now let's say I have someone in 6 to 12 months. This person I would follow up in a certain way, and then maybe I've eventually am able to meet with them and schedule an appointment. I would just drag them up and put them in there. In this case, it's actually Claire. So I'm going to say that we scheduled with Claire. Now she's in the appointment stage. Once we've scheduled our appointment and we kept our appointment, I'm going to drag her through the pipeline. You can also see here that in the opportunity active section, again, you can break this apart as you'd like. I'm not going to dig too much into checklists and the in-depth and opportunity checklist today. I want you guys just to identify your opportunities and start playing with the pipeline tools. Making sure that you have all of your connected leads identified in your database, that is huge. So again, organizing your database, getting them on some type of neighborhood nurture plan. And then once you're connecting with those people or establishing their timelines or time frame, then you're going to put them in your opportunity pipeline. So now in my pipeline, I have Claire that's over here. She's going to be in my appointment. So let's say we kept the appointment. Maybe they hang out there for a while until we're actually ready to do paperwork. Once I'm actually ready to do paperwork with Claire, I'm going to go ahead and click on that. You can also get to these opportunity details through the contact itself. You don't have to go into the pipeline. So if I were to go into my database and go into Claire's opportunities, I could click here. It'll take me to the same spot. This is your folder for that whole transaction. I love the fact that I can have as many folders as I want for this person, and they're all going to be stored in one place. So in Dotloop, when you have multiple loops for a person or you work with a client several times over the years, sometimes it's difficult to go in and find where those old loops are. Or if you type in their name, sometimes all of the loops don't come up. Where here, if I go to Claire, I can easily see all of the loops, or in this case, opportunities or folders that I have associated with that person forever. So it's nice. Everything is in one spot. I see the timeline here. I can manage her marketing, smart plans, tasks, etc. So nice and compact, all in one spot. Now, if I click on here and go into the details, these are the details that are going to start populating your Docusign. So I would say that you want to do your best to fill out this information as soon as you can. Obviously on day one, as soon as I start the opportunity, if this is 6 months out, I'm not necessarily going to have all of this information, which is fine. But once you get this information, you definitely want to fill in as much as you can, because it is going to populate into Docusign and make everything that much easier. Your seller profile, this is not live just yet, but the seller profile is pretty cool. It's connected to your app. So on your app, you have those guides, the buying and selling guides, which are available on the bottom of all the consumer apps. If Claire had my app, which at this point, if I'm working with her, I would want to make sure that she's downloaded my app and she's looking for houses on my app, especially if she's a buyer. And from there, she can follow that guide and it'll take them through the transaction process. And we're able to click off like, okay, you're done with attorney, or you're done with your inspection, or you're done with the, I think one of them is like under contract. You can add attorney review, closed. It just kind of shows them the process of the transaction, and the seller profile will allow you to actually communicate with them. Again, it's hard for me to explain because it's not live yet, but it's pretty cool, and it basically is going to be tied into their app account. Documents, So here's where your documents are going to be kept. Most importantly here, what I want your takeaways to be are that opportunities start as a connected lead. As soon as you've connected with that lead, that's when they become an opportunity. And the opportunity folder, which we're in right now, that's where all of your compliance and all of your documents need to be kept, regardless of how you get those documents signed, meaning they're signed by hand, or they're signed by another program, or they're signed by Dotloop, or they're signed by Docusign. That doesn't really matter. What matters is that they're organized and stored in your opportunity in command. This is how you're going to submit your compliance, and this is how you're going to get paid. So you want to make sure everything is in here. The folders that are on the side that are default, they're going to be similar to the folders that you would use in Dotloop when you have separate folders. You can see that you can create your own too. So I can add a custom folder here. And let's say that I have extra stuff that doesn't need to get signed, but I want to make sure that I save it with everything else. Such as inspection reports, addendums, surveys, floor plans, all of that good stuff. You want to make sure that you upload all of those PDFs directly into the opportunity documents. Again, they don't have to be signed. You're just keeping them organized all in one place. They do have to be PDFs. So if I made my folder, I would just go and add document, let you browse from your computer. Very similar to Dotloop. And yeah, so this is the end all. Over on the side, you'll see that these are where you can add the files that are like going to be attached to the corresponding placeholders. Sorry, I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. So if I have my residential listing agreement and I want to add that, I would click on add a file, and it's going to allow me to either upload from my computer or get them from my Docusign account. So again, if you did all the paperwork by hand, that's fine. You can come in here and add those PDFs just by clicking add file. One of the things that they recently added is the attach multiple file option. This makes it a lot easier to come in, because then if you have everything saved and organized, you can just go ahead and choose each document one by one and place them all in at once. But if you're using Docusign, so that's really what we're talking about today. If you're using Docusign, you're going to go up here where it says start transaction. And you'll notice that I have a little arrow because I have both Docusign and Dotloop connected to my command account. Does it connect with Dotloop? Yes, it does connect with Dotloop. You can connect with Dotloop in your settings, and it should be there. If not, you might have to go to the marketplace. I can send you a short video on that, actually. YouTube. I will post this for you. It's like a 2-minute video. It's really easy, but it'll just take you through the steps on how to get your Dotloop account synced up. If you guys don't already have your Docusign account synced up, I would definitely do that. You do have to create an account by signing up in the settings. So if you go up into your profile and then you go to settings, Docusign should be right on the top, in which it'll say connect account. And when you click connect account, it's going to take you through the steps to sign up for an account. If you already have a Docusign account, you have to basically create a new one. You can't use pre-existing Docusign accounts. They have to be created through KW because they are special Docusign accounts. They work a little bit differently than the ones that are that you open to the public or that you paid for out on your own. Okay, so once you have those accounts connected, this button will go live for you, which says start a transaction. And now I can choose either Docusign or Dotloop. I'm going to choose Docusign. At that point, it's going to redirect you into your Docusign room. So it actually blocked that pop-up for me. So we can log in. They do make you log in once a day. Some websites always remember your passwords like forever. Like for instance, Facebook or Google, you don't have to retype your password every time. DocuSign does kick you out every 24 hours. You'll have to reset your password. So make sure that when you create your DocuSign account, you remember that password. It's going to be one of those passwords that you have to know and use a lot. So once I log into my account, now it has actually put me into what's called a room. So DocuSign rooms are basically like a loop. So are we still going to use .loop? We're using .loop currently, but we are probably within the next 90 days going to be phasing out of .loop. So we are merging to DocuSign. If you would like to continue to use .loop, that'll probably be an option for you, but it's going to be something that you'd have to subscribe and pay for. I personally, I like DocuSign. I actually loved .loop. I used .loop for years. I think I was using .loop for like the past 7 years, but DocuSign is just a little bit more polished. It's a little bit more versatile, and there's less limitations that we had. I felt like we always encountered the same problems with .loop, where so far my experience with DocuSign, I think it's actually a little bit easier to use. And it's the same kind of concept. If you're familiar with .loop and you guys have used .loop, the transition to start learning and using DocuSign is piece of cake. So at this point, I'm in my room, right? So this is kind of like my loop. And it's going to ask me up here, I have details, documents, people. These details that are here, they're going to actually populate from the details that are in your opportunity. As you update these, you want to make sure that you're updating them in the opportunity. And if you do make some changes or additions here, once you come to the document screen, you can sync that transaction. And what that does is it updates all the details over here. It's much, much better with auto population, which was something that if you guys ever came to my .loop class, I always used to talk about how the .loop auto populate feature just drove me nuts. It never really worked the way we wanted it to. Can you sync all of the files from DocuSign? I'm not sure what you mean by sync. Like bring them all over? Yeah, I'm going to show you that. So you would populate all of these details. These details are then going to populate your documents. DocuSign is a little different in .loop because .loop you create your loop, you add your people, and then you prepare your paperwork. In this case, you create the opportunity, you launch the room, then you're going to prepare your paperwork and then add your people. So same steps, just a little bit different of an order. So in this case, the first thing I want to do is I want to add my paperwork. So up here, you'll notice this is empty right now. And if I go click on add, it's going to give me a couple different options to pull in paperwork. So I have my computer. So if I had a PDF, like a scanned contract or a seller's disclosure, or something like that, that I need signatures on, I would pull in the PDF from my computer. If I have zip form, if you guys use zip form, I know that's what the NJMLS uses. So you can actually connect your zip form accounts and pull over the listing agreements if you do prepare them that way. Dropbox, Google Drive. So you basically have any way to connect and pull paperwork. In the case where you don't have that paperwork and you need to access those forms, you're going to click on DocuSign Forms. And when you click on DocuSign Forms, this box is going to pop up. And it's going to say, do you want to pull from the library or from a forms group? The library is literally a library of all of the different boards and MLSs that we have hooked up to our market centers. The forms groups are going to be the loop templates that you guys are used to, like buyer's documents, residential listing documents. There's only 2 in here. Reese and I just started working, Reese and I just started working on this. So probably within the next couple of days, we'll have these groups all laid out for Ridgewood. But if you guys from other market centers, you might already have your group set up. I'm not exactly sure where everyone's at with that. Essentially, though, you'd just be able to choose a group and it will have all the forms that you need. In this case, I would just select all. Obviously, I'm missing a lot of the listing forms. Like I said, we're just getting these organized. But you'll have every form that you need for a standard residential listing, and you'll be able to hit select all and then add them. So it just puts them all in. If you need to add an additional form, like you need to go and find a special, disclosure, or you're doing a change of status, then you would have to go into the library and find the specific form that you need for that type of transaction. As you know, we don't put every form in the loop template or the group in this case. So there will be sometimes that you have to go and find those forms, but they're pretty organized and they're very easy to find, in my opinion, because it's sorted by these KW. This is our in-house forms. You have Monmouth and JMLS, Hudson, Garden State. Okay, so now I have my forms in here, and I'm actually gonna pull in a PDF from my computer just so that you can see what I'm talking about with adding signatures. So let's use the contract. Use this. Okay, so I have all my paperwork that I need to get signed. And at this point, I'm going to prepare it. So you would click on each form and fill it out. Again, you're preparing the forms and filling out the forms before you add your people. So you're going to go in here, fill out the listing agreement. As you can see, it has populated from any details that I did have. So the more details that you put in your command, your opportunity, the more details are going to go into Docusign, and the more of those details will then fill out all of your forms. That process, honestly, just seeing how seamless it works is huge, and I think you guys are going to find that as a huge time saver. So here I would fill out the commission agreement, or I'm sorry, yeah, the whole listing agreement. Good. Fill out all my other forms, which I'm not going to do right now. And once I have those forms filled out and prepared, then I'm going to add my people. To add people, it's pretty easy. You're going to come in and add people and click on invite. Something to be aware of at this point is to understand that when you are inviting people to join the room on Docusign, they do get an email notification. In Dotloop, it was a little bit different. You could add people to a loop. They didn't know right away that you added them to that loop. They wouldn't be notified until you shared something with them, unless you sent them an intro email, which wasn't the default. Here in Docusign, they do receive a notification that they have been added to a room, and it'll say, Elise Delaney has added you to the room list, and that room would probably have, in this case, it's called Elko listing because that's the transaction we're working on. That's something to be mindful of, just because if you don't have your paperwork prepared, you're probably going to get a phone call and your client's going to be saying, what does this mean? What do I do? Where are my forms? So I would advise preparing the documents first, and then once you're ready to share those documents, you go add the people at that point. And it's really easy to add the people and populate the signatures. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add Reese in here. Type. It's transaction side. We'll say that she's the seller. And select role. This is a little bit different from Dotloop. In this case, it's just she's a client. It's not asking at this point if she's a buyer, seller, or whatever. So just a client. And now I'm going to go ahead and invite her. And she will get an email notification. Little Reese. She will get an email notification that I invited her to join that room, but there's no action required on her part at that time. The second email, maybe that's an expectation you guys should set with your clients, and just say, hey, I'm going to send you 2 emails. Don't worry about the first one. The second email you get will have all of your documents. Does it remember your name and license number and all that? Yes, it does. Yep. So all of that stuff, if you have it populated in your marketing profile and command, that will populate into your opportunity details, which would then populate into Docusign. In Docusign itself, you can go and set up your profile, so you can have all of your any type of contact information that you'd like. That will all be able for you to customize. Like I haven't uploaded my headshot yet, so all that good stuff you can do in the manage profile section. And I'll touch on that after we finish this part. So I've added Reese, and now I'm going to go back to my documents. Oh, I didn't mention. You don't have to add the broker. It's the same as with .loop, where you'll see KW admin. That represents anybody in your market center who has admin access, such as the broker of record who's going to be signing your listing agreements, or the MCA. Anybody who has admin access to Docusign for that office will be represented by that admin. So you should never be adding the broker. If I were to add Sally Ponchak and invite her, I'm adding Sally Ponchak, the agent, not Sally Ponchak, the broker. So it's important to know that when anytime you're having broker sign, they're signing as an admin. Okay, so I'm gonna go to documents now. I have my people all set. All I had to do was add my client. I was already in there, and my broker's already in there. Does the admin have access to all of the pages? Yes, that's the case with .loop as well. They have to have access to everything, but I can assure you that they don't generally go through all of your pages unless you've asked them to, or unless there's an issue with that transaction. Okay, so documents, now I'm going to prepare these, right? Or we already did. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm going to prepare the signatures. So I'm going to click on the documents that I want to be signed by my seller. So I want her to sign all 3 of these. And at that point, when you click these little bubbles here, it brings up this toolbar, which you can see pops up. So I'm going to click all 3, and then I'm going to click the little pen, which represents signature. So Docusign. So we're going to click the pen. I don't know what this is. I can't get that off my screen. I don't know if, can you guys see this generic image thing? I don't know why that's stuck on my screen. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, I see it.
I'm sorry. That's something with probably my browser. So disregard. Okay, now I have my forms in here. What this has done is it's brought me into an envelope. I know it's a lot of new terms. So like you've got rooms, you got opportunities, you got envelopes. It's basically the envelope is an email. So I'm preparing the paperwork, I'm putting it in an envelope, and I'm going to send it out. The envelope is just the stage in which we're distributing the forms. So the forms are in the room. The room is sort of like your DocuSign folder, but really your transaction folder is your opportunity. Does that make sense? I hope so. So, okay, now we have our forms in the envelope, and I'm going to prepare this I'm going to send this out for signatures. So envelope name, I would probably put the transaction there. But I don't think it's, it's not terrible to have it say, please DocuSign. These are the forms. Add recipient. Who am I sending this to? I usually go by pre-tagged roles. I find this a little bit easier for the signature process. If you click on pre-tagged roles, it's going to say, okay, who's the listing broker? The listing broker is KW admin. Who's the listing agent? The listing agent is me. Who's the seller? And then I would go and plug in my seller. And then at that point, I would add selected. This is kind of a cool feature that you don't need to, it's not mandatory, but it is cool in my opinion. You can actually change the order in which these forms are sent. So they have these numbers here. I can change the broker to like number 2 or number 3. And let's say that I want my seller to sign it. And then after my seller signs it, it's going to come to me to sign. And then after I sign it, it will automatically go to the broker. That's pretty cool because in .loop, you have to constantly be checking to see if your clients have filled out the forms. And then once they've filled out the forms, you then have to submit them to the broker. So you're kind of always like have to be glued to your computer or your phone waiting for those signatures. Where here, it can be automated. So I have it set so it's going to go, I can sign at the same time as my seller. Once we both sign this, it will automatically roll to the broker. That's another cool example is if you're submitting a contract, or let's say that you're working with buyers. You could send this and have your buyer sign it. So you can have buyer 1, buyer 2. And let's say that buyer 1 is, the husband and wife, and maybe one of them is at work during the day, and it's usually like 6 hours later that they get to sign it, or in the middle of the night. It would automatically roll over to the seller's agent. So I could send this to my buyers, and as soon as my buyers sign it, it will be sent to the other agent. And it's just less work and less hand-holding for you to be constantly redirecting those documents. It'll just happen automatically. I think that's pretty awesome. You can also have this be like 1, 2, 3. If you do 1, 1, and 1, that means everyone gets it at the same time. One of the other really good features that is an improvement from dot loop is that in dot loop, frequently you get stuck with this whole like, okay, we can't, it says like someone else has the form and you have to take the document in order for you to be able to access that form. That doesn't really happen with Docusign. You can all be in the form at the same time. So that's a big relief because I know that used to happen to a lot of people. Down here, after I have my people added and assigned, I can add a message. At this point, I always recommend, giving them some type of explanation in terms of what these documents are. I feel like a lot of times agents just hit send and they don't realize that the documents that you're sending are pretty serious documents that you're asking these people to sign. And especially with how the world is today, you're not sitting down having a face-to-face conversation explaining these forms. I used to take this as an opportunity and I'd put like a bullet point list and, I'd just say like, thank you so much for listing with me. I'm so excited to work with you on selling your home. And then under that, I would just put a little list like the lead paint, one line description of what each form means. And just really simplified. I felt in that case, it gave people a lot more like, okay, that's what that means. Because some of these forms are hard to interpret and they're a little bit intimidating. You can also have that saved on your computer. So you could have that like saved on a notepad and then just paste it into your computer. You don't have to retype it every time. All right, obviously that's not mandatory, just a little helpful trick that I've discovered. Now we hit next. So I assigned my people, picked their roles, hit next. Now we're pretty much done. At this point, it's going to auto-populate the signatures based on the roles. So that form's a little crazy. Let's look at the listing agreement. The list is already mapped out for you. You don't have to add signature boxes unless you're adding extras. So like here, everybody's broken apart by color. I'm the listing agent, I'm yellow, my seller is blue, my broker is purple. You can see over on the side, it actually gives you these little thumbnail previews and it shows you the pages that each color has to sign, which I really like. And if I need to add signatures, so like this was the PDF that we imported. If I need to add signatures to this, I would just choose whose signature I need to add. So let's say that my seller needs to sign this. And then I would click on signature and bring it over. They're much easier to resize. They're much easier to get to work. A lot of times on dot loop, you have to click add signature like 50 times and then the box still doesn't pop up and they were a little bit hard to manage. It also did not let you add signatures to a pre-existing template. Now you can add anything you want. If you need to add a text box to our office template down here, you can. And you can even have it set so like the seller has to sign that out, fill that out. Okay, so once I have my signatures populated, I mean, we're basically already set. All of the forms that we have submitted to the office, meaning our standard listing documents, all of the buyer documents, those signature fields are already mapped out. The only time that you're going to have to add signature boxes are for like new forms that haven't been processed through Docusign yet. Like for instance, the COVID waivers. I'm not sure that they might take a little while to get them in Docusign. So in that case, you might have to add a couple signature lines, but it's still super easy to do. Does it allow access for seller to do seller's disclosure? You mean fill it out? I haven't actually tried that yet, but I would imagine that you can, because if I send them the form and they have permission to fill and sign, then yeah, they could fill out the seller's disclosure. That's actually, I think, works just like it does in dot loop. At this point, I would then go ahead and hit send. Well, I'm not going to send these right now because I don't want it to go to our broker, but here you can see a preview of what it looks like when they receive this form. And it's easy. Same thing as dot loop. It's going to push them through and have them sign everywhere that's required for them to fill or sign. And then when they hit finish, it sends that form back to you. One of the really cool things that I like about this is once everybody is done signing the forms, it actually then sends you an email. You know, you're still going to get those emails where it's like, seller 1 has signed, seller 2 has signed, seller 2 signed this, seller 3 signed that. And you get kind of like a bombardment of email notifications. But it never really told you, okay, this form is done. DocuSign will send you an email and say the form has been completed. Here is an attached PDF of the form filled out. So it will send that to everybody who signed the form. It sends them a fully executed version of that form once everybody has signed it. That saves you a lot of extra work because, you know, part of your obligation at the end of the transaction is to provide executed documents of everything. And I do think that a lot of agents sometimes forget to reshare everything on Dotloop after it's been signed by everybody. So here it does that automatically for you. It'll just send it over and then they have the ability to save the PDF if they'd like to. Okay, so now I would have my envelope, and in that envelope, I can see, in this case, we didn't send it, but it would show me the status of signatures, show me who I'm waiting on. And at that point, once I get those forms signed, the next step would be to pull them back into my opportunity. So we're back in command now. I'm back in my opportunity for Claire, and I'm in the document section. I now need to attach my documents. And again, I recommend doing attach multiple files. And you'll see that it lets me select DocuSign. So if I click DocuSign here, I then can go and pick which ones are which. So residential listing agreement, residential listing agreement. I think I have like the delayed showing form in here, delayed showing form, you know, whatever else it is, like wire payment. So that was kind of a random one I pulled in. But you basically choose which is which. And once you do that, it uploads a PDF of that document into your opportunity folder. So again, it does not matter how you're getting these documents signed. You can use any program that you would like. KW is using DocuSign because they're probably the best e-signature program that's available. And we want everything to end up in our opportunities in command. So we don't have to deal with relying on some other company who has all of our data stored in their servers. We want it to be in your opportunity. This is your account. This is your opportunity. You can see that if you preview these, it gives you a full preview of the documents. Once you have all the documents in here, then you would just hit submit to the Market Center. And whoever checks compliance in your office will receive a notification. They'll go in, either approve or, you know, message you and say, hey, you're missing something. Same thing, same exact thing as Dotloop. The next step would be to actually, so now we've done that. We're good. We're active, right? And we go through and showing the house, blah, blah, blah. A couple weeks go by, or maybe days, you never know. Now we have an offer. The offer, whether you're accepting offers on a listing or you're submitting offers with a buyer, you have to add all of those offers in here as like a line item. So it's not like you're retyping the whole offer. It's just asking you for the very basics. But you do have to put each one. So in this case, we say initial offer, fine. It's going to ask me what the offer date, what our estimate closing date is. In terms of parties, all I need here, you don't have to put all of the buyer's information if you don't want to. You could just put like buyer 1, or I'm not buyer 1. You put the buyer's name and the agent's name. And at this point, it's going to take you over to your financial stuff. So finances, let's say they're putting 20,000 down and they're financing, I forget how much we said the house was, but it's okay. Earnest amount, we don't really do escrow. Option fee, you know, this stuff is all optional. If you have it, or if it applies, you can fill that out. Agent analysis. So here, this is something that you will be able to, your sellers or your buyers will be able to see on their profile. Basically, they'll be able to see like your opinion, pros and cons. This is sort of, it's a cool feature because if you have a multiple offer situation, I do think that's a little bit overwhelming. And sometimes agents or clients are going to ask you over and over again, okay, well, what's the difference between this one and that one? And which one do you recommend more? The idea here is that we're just adding each offer in and they can access that information, at least the essentials for that information, anytime that they want on their app. They don't have to go and read the 13-page contract or try to understand how to read the contract. In this case, they can just come in and see a really short and sweet version of the pros and cons and the actual price on each offer. So pros, like they're paying cash. Cons would be there's a contingency, anything that's applicable. Summary, you could give your summary opinion if you want. And now that basically puts in this offer here. You do want to make sure that you're noting every offer that comes in as you are required. Sometimes I have to add a doc later. How does that work? I mean, you would just go in and add documents at any time. You're always in documents. And you will always have access to add things even after the transaction closes. Once you have the offer put in here, it's going to then you have to basically accept or reject. So accept or reject the offer. In this case, I'm going to accept the offer. And you'll notice that when I accept the offer, the commission tab lights up. The commission tab is replacing your green sheet. And at this point in the transaction, as you can see, I'm missing a bunch of stuff, but at this point in the transaction, you would have, most of this is already going to be filled out for you. You obviously are able to edit. So you'll see here that if any other agents were shared on this opportunity, they would come up here and I can choose how we're splitting the units or what our commissions are based on our agreement. Down here, you have your royalty, you have your commission, your cap rate. That's all going to be based on whatever you have in your systems in Winmore. Really cool feature is that they put a live cap tracker over here. So this is going to actually show you where you stand with your cap after each deal closes, which is pretty awesome. And down here, you have the ability to donate if you want to do KW Cares. We do not require E&O as it comes out of your monthly payment. So at the bottom, add items. This is where you could put an outside referral, inside referral, a concession or bonus. Really easy to add those items, choosing the agent. Once you have all of this filled out, again, you then hit submit. And now it goes to to the MCA, who is then going to process that closing for you and get you paid. So that basically is the whole transaction process. I know this was it's an overview. We will do a lot more Docusign classes that are going to be, a little bit more in depth. We'll probably have beginner level and advanced level Docusign classes. But regardless of whether you're using .loop, Docusign, ZipForm, ZipLogic, whatever it is that you're using, I mean, what I want you guys to really play with and experiment with is the command opportunity. The opportunity that's your whole transaction process. We started in our database at an open house lead. We added their neighborhoods, put them on a drip campaign. Eventually, I connected them as a lead, made that opportunity. They went into my pipeline. I dragged them through, I nurtured them in my pipeline. So we went through and then I put them in appointment. Once I scheduled that appointment, I'm then ready to do their paperwork, which I think was this one. Brings us into all of our paperwork, profile, all of our documents, our offers, our green sheet, and then we're good. So I do think that it is very, very streamlined. Everything is in one program. Previously, we probably used like 6 different programs to accomplish what I showed you today. Probably more than that, probably more like 8 programs to accomplish what I showed you today. It's one account, it's all in one place. The only time that you have to leave is to go get those e-signatures, whether you're using Docusign or another program. So commissions is the green sheet. Yes, exactly. So the commission that's replacing the green sheet. And it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier than the green sheets, more simple to read. And it's already filled out for you because it's all that information has already been in here. It's all in one spot. So by the time I get to the commission part, all of this stuff has already been submitted in. Any other questions? I know it's like, It is a shift, but I do think once you guys try this and you play with it, and I encourage you to do that, go add yourself to your database, go play with, make yourself an opportunity and go play with this process. It's really, really, really streamlined. And if you do it a couple times, I guarantee it's going to make so much sense to you. And in fact, you'll probably be like, why didn't we leave dot loop sooner? You're welcome. Thanks for coming. So any questions that can you check on your cap status without submitting an offer, like reports and eEdge? You could, I would imagine, be able to check your cap status in the reporting section. I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I don't know exactly. I have my goals in here. You will be able to get like your reports. I just haven't, to be honest, explored this in depth just yet. No problem. Any other questions? All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up. I think we have the 2 o'clock regional call with Michael Brand. I believe Nick Baldwin is on today, and he is awesome. So if you guys haven't heard him speak yet, I definitely recommend going to check that out. It is marketcenterzoom.com will redirect you to that class, which I'm sure they've all posted. So play with this. Let me know if you have questions, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.